Like and subscribe right now, or you're going to have terrible luck for the next week.
Urban exploration is not for the faint of heart. These places can have some of the creepiest things, which is probably the reason they were abandoned. Instead of demolishing the buildings, the government just lets the place be so ghosts have a place to stay too, because no one deserves to be homeless. After watching this video, you'll think twice about going inside and exploring an abandoned house or hospital. So let's look at 10 of the creepiest things discovered inside abandoned places. 10. Bathtub of human brains. Somewhere in a little used room in the bowels of the Animal Resources Center on the University of Texas's campus in Austin sit around 100 or so large glass jars. These were discovered when a picture of a bathtub full of brains went viral on the internet. It led to the discovery of human brains in a hospital for research. They're stored on a wooden shelving unit that takes up an entire wall. Those jars have an unlikely collection. Each contains a complete, or in a few cases, a partial human brain submerged in formalin. Most had a label faded with time but still readable, inscribed with 3 pieces of information: a reference number, the condition from which the patient suffered, and the date of death. They date back to 1950 and all belong to patients at the Austin State Hospital. A picture of brains in a bathtub led to this discovery, but people are still finding from where the tub photo is from.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you'll get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it. It really works.
9. Chicken Church. Hidden deep inside the Indonesian jungle lies a church which looks like a giant chicken. This long-abandoned structure, known locally as Gereja Ayam or Chicken Church, attracts hundreds of curious travelers and photographers. But according to its creator, the majestic building is neither a chicken nor a church. Daniel Alamsjaw was working in Jakarta, which is 342 miles away, when he suddenly got a divine message from God to build a prayer house in the form of a dove. He probably didn't know what a dove looked like, so he just built something which looked like one. Local landowners offered him the 3,000 square meters of land on Rima Hill for just 2 million rupees, or $110, which he paid off over 4 years. Now, people of many different religions, including Buddhists, Muslims, and Christians, travel to this remote prayer house to worship in their own way. Inside the temple, you can find statues of different gods and prayer rooms, which are quite creepy. 8. Movie posters. A homeowner in Alberta, Canada started to renovate his home and quickly stumbled upon a cinematic treasure. It seems that the home's previous owner had the posters and used them for insulation. The house was abandoned and no one lived there for decades. The new owner found those old vintage posters, which rounded up to 360 from the 1920s and early 1930s. The findings were estimated to be worth a lot because out of the 360 posters, 40 of them sold for around $30,000, which is a lot. This way, he could easily make more than $500,000 if he sold them all. The person used the $40,000 to pay off the renovations for the house which he had started. He found all these posters in just 2 weeks after he bought the house. We all would want to find the treasure that makes us rich, but not all of us are that lucky. 7. The Mary Lynn Cryptid Collection. Numerous mythical creatures have been created over the course of human history. Most of them were based on misunderstandings of real animals, plants, or even other human populations. Mary Lynn Cryptid Museum contains what it claims are the bodily remains of a variety of fantastic creatures ranging from dragons to aliens. They could be genuine, but they also resemble specimens that turned out to later be hoaxes. The creatures in the museum were apparently found in the 1960s in the basement of a mansion owned by Thomas Theodore Maryland, a cryptozoologist and an eccentric archaeologist. The specimens were found enclosed in boxes and resembled the withered skeletal remains of various fantastic creatures ranging from mermaids, fairies, gnomes, dragons, vampires, and even some extraterrestrials. In addition to skeletal remains, some of the original tissue such as fur and scales were preserved on the remains. 6. TVs with bullet holes. A person was exploring a small rural house in Ontario, Canada. The house was small, but it had 4 bedrooms, but the weird thing about it was that it included 5 beds. The paper-thin walls looked like the wallpaper was keeping them intact. The house was a complete mess, but surprisingly no one had stolen anything and all the furniture was still inside. There were photos on the dressers and hanging on the walls. The house even had electricity, so it looked like the homeowners just left the house without taking anything with them. Everything about the house is creepy, but the creepiest thing about it were the televisions. First of all, there was more than one and all three of them were completely damaged. Two of them even had bullet holes in them. Maybe the owner shot up the televisions when he didn't like what he was watching. Most probably CNBC. 5. The Delray Witch. A police officer posted really disturbing video on his YouTube channel. He stated in the video that he had heard some bizarre and odd noises coming from a house nearby, so he parked his car and went to investigate what was going on in the house. The Delray we're talking about is a neighborhood in Detroit, not Florida. The officer goes near the house and calls if anyone is inside. Suddenly, a ghostly face appears in the upper window of the house and the officer barely catches it in the camera before it disappears. The house was a complete mess too, as it actually belonged to a woman named Rose Veras, who was known as the Delray Witch. It was widely known that she had murdered as many as 12 men in 1930, and people knew but were too scared to testify against her. She was known to have superpowers that could make children sick and then have them killed. There's even a book written about her known as the Witch of Delray. Did the police officer actually see the ghost of the infamous Rose Veras, or was the video edited? Let us know in the comments. 4. Forgotten Biology Experiment. Most of us have happy and fun memories affiliated with schools, but if you ask any explorer what abandoned building to go to have some fun and explore more, their reply would be abandoned schools. We all remember our biology teacher telling us to kill and dissect a frog in the biology lab. Not one of our best memories, but at least he learned how to kill a frog. You would think that schools would get rid of all the animals they experiment on. Maybe most schools do, but not this one. This school has exactly what urban explorers get excited over. The science lab of the school is filled with animals in jars and pans filled with liquid, like there was some type of X-Men related operation going on in there. And then the explorers found the weirdest thing: a dead mummified frog on a pedestal. It wasn't inside a pan or jar swimming in liquid, but instead was sitting on a pedestal welcoming the human explorers like a trophy. 3. Birthday cards. Whatever you might think, abandoned houses are some of the creepiest places in the world and are easy to find. Urban explorers have a thing for creepy houses, just like this one mansion in Suffolk County in Long Island. The house was built around the 1960s and was filled with creepy things. The house was neglected in a way that no one else actually lived there except for a family or two, keeping in mind that houses built in the 60s aren't really that old. When the explorer went inside, he found very creepy things, including a birthday party. The explorer said he found a lot of birthday cards to a guy named Eric. There were hundreds of them, and the creepiest thing about them is that they were all written by one person, as they all had the same handwriting. On exploring more, he found toys, and before he could leave, he saw a person crawling out from the attic. That was it for the explorer, as he ran for his life after that moment. What do you guys think? Is this a true story? And with that, it's now time for today's subscriber pick. Today's photo was sent to us by a subscriber. If you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it on a future video. 2. Shark. Luke McPherson was walking through a dark building in an abandoned wildlife park. This wildlife park was once a popular attraction in Victoria, Australia called Wildlife Wonderland. It had live animals, a museum, along with educational displays and games. Many of the displays, signs, pictures, and games are still there, dilapidated and haunting. He then came across a huge tank of green liquid. It wasn't until he stepped behind the tank and turned to face it again that he saw what it held. Now illuminated from behind, the animal inside the opaque fluid was visible. McPherson choked as he could see the angular tail of a 5-meter-long shark, obviously dead. McPherson was filming for his YouTube channel, which focuses on the exploration of abandoned buildings. Luckily, he caught the discovery on camera. It was just amazing that the shark tank was in perfect condition, he said. 1. Pentagram. Pentagrams are a kind of star and they're normal, but a normal pentagram isn't what we're talking about here. A pentagram made from fire extinguishers was found in a basement of an abandoned hospital in Surrey, England. Why someone would make this is still a mystery to us. Maybe they wanted to perform some satanic rituals using fire extinguishers. The photo was taken from the hospital after it was closed in 2004. It's said that the hospital had some experiments gone wrong in the psych ward and had to be shut down after that. That's our list of the 10 creepiest things discovered in abandoned places. Would you go urban exploring after watching this video? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.